compositional formats. In days of old, when knights were bold, there used to be quite a bit of rigidity some time ago with having a compositional format that had to suit the competition. Okay, it has to be a 3x4 format. That had to suit the competition, or it had to suit a magazine that you needed to that wanted a certain format. I will shoot with the native compositional format of my D300, which is, I've forgotten, 2x3. But if I don't need it in a 2x3, and often I don't need it in anything because I can do what I want, I'll play about with things. So we're seeing a lot of panoramics. I'm not on about stitching now or anything. Just play about with some of the crops. That's the tugboat again. Just play about. You'll like them or you won't. I'll put a few aperture settings in case that interests you. Here's got a square format. Just play about. Sometimes galleries for prints or magazines specify a particular format, and I know some of you in the room need that format because on certain shots that's what you have to do, but that is already in your camera. This is just playing about afterwards and suiting something to something that's a bit off the wall and a little bit different. Do we have to have a thing in the middle? So I make my compositional formats, by and large, suit the picture instead of the other way around. Okay, quick tip. Negative clarity. Negative clarity is a feature in Lightroom and Photoshop in the raw conversion, and this is what it does. Clarity, when you put a bit of a plus to clarity, if you look at the top line, that's the 0, and when you put it in the plus, what it does, it gives a contrast boost to the midtones. It has the effect of sharpening it. It looks as though it's sharpening. It's a very quick setting that really pops. But some things lend themselves to negative clarity. So we're going into the negative for the clarity, talking about a wrong slide. So there we have, that's normal, negative clarity, just softens it a little bit. And that's another one, just softens it. And with this clown that was very garish, I just took a few colours out, make it a bit different. Negative clarity. Okay, I know a lot of you trying bokeh and blur settings. That's the aesthetic out of focus quality of lenses when used on wide apertures such as f2, 4.5, 5.6. In particular, your macro lenses, your 60mm macro lens, your 105, lenses like that. So a few little guidelines. 60mm macro lens, you get good bokeh with sufficient depth of field, 4.5, 5.6. Play around with them, okay? A 105 lens, I took 100 pictures of one of these on 5.6 and f4 in Bali, and I couldn't get both eyes sharp. With a 105 lens, the bokeh, the out of focus goes more rapidly as you open the apertures. I went to f8 and I got a much better hit rate with the 105. So play around, play with shorter ones, but get it in the bag first of all and then have a play. And f8, that is probably at about 1:1 reproduction ratio, and the miss rate at 5.6 was quite high. And again, that was an f8, just happened to have the eyes looking at me. The others that I did with the 105 at 5.6 and 4 I couldn't get one eye at times, let alone two. That might be my eyes, you might have perfected it better, but quick tip. Okay. I think not any of you wouldn't do, nobody would do this, but other people would. But I think some people, their LCDs are the wrong brightness. A couple of weeks ago, I had a lady come down on the course, and it's not a lady who's come tonight in the room, it wasn't you, somebody else, and their LCD looked quite bright. And we were playing about with it in the classroom, and I had a look at the histogram, and the histogram was very, very dark. So what appears to be correct in camera, it's just the setting that comes out of the factory. Right, with Nikon SLRs, I have calibrated a lot of these, and this is just doing a trick, I'll show you. You haven't got a calibration thing you use. I find with a Nikon SLR, -1 LCD brightness is about right. So if it looks dark, when you take a picture in your LCD, it is dark. If it looks right, it is right. And this is how it works. So a lot of marks on my back of my screen. So there I've taken the picture. Screen might be a bit bright, but take the word for it. That is a very accurate, good histogram. And in the back of my LCD, that leopard looks a really good exposure. This lionfish looks dark, and it is dark. And I suggest you get your LCDs, whether they're compacts or SLRs, to reflect that. And I've never seen SLRs that have come out, screens that have come out too bright. They come out too, I've never seen them come out of the factory too dark, but they come out quite bright, and I think that's a factory settings that the camera manufacturers do. When you take the picture in the shot, you go, wow, that looks fantastic, where it's probably underexposed. So just calibrate it, just get them right, and adjust in the back, in your settings, your LCD brightness to suit something that's dark, needs an histogram that's dark, and something that's absolutely bang on needs that histogram right to the end, not falling off the end, right up to the end as far as you can get it. Any questions on that? Okay. Oh, and that's the setup menu for adjusting LCD brightness. Okay, this is quick tip. Flash carry distance. What time is it, Cupid? 10 o'clock. Okay. Flash carry distance. Sipadan, years and years ago, we always had schooling jacks that were virtually on tap all the time. And because they were so big, the school, we had to back off. And we ended up shooting them in silhouette. However, I found that if we used a wide aperture like 5.6 or f4, we'd still got sufficient depth of field, but we could just put a little bit of flash on a rather large school, because it's the aperture of your camera that allows the flash to travel further away. Okay, it's nothing to do with shutter speed. So if your flash is on full power and you want to get it to travel further to a subject, then you have to open up the aperture and let it do it. So macro, you'll know that at f22, flash goes a short distance. And as we open it up, because we're backing off from a subject, a macro subject, we might have to open it up to f11 to get the flash to get to that subject. So here we've got a wide angle picture of jacks. I've got them all in, But Luke, they're lit. And I just think, I've got loads that aren't lit, but I think I can just give it a bit more depth. So I'll do some with, some without. Some I get backscatter, or some I don't. But with this, I got the flash, and I actually got a nice swirl of them in very poor visibility. So it allows them to travel, and that's how we used to shoot our big schooling fish barracuda pictures in the mid-90s by letting that flash travel. While we're on to it, I've got another picture. Yeah. While we're on to it, if there's action, I don't think it's a great idea to mess around with manual settings. I watch people do it, and they're there, and it's going over the sun, so I've got to change it. And they've got dolphins swirling, they've got a school of jacks. That is a time when I will go to one of the priority modes. Now, I go for aperture priority. Okay, I go for aperture priority every time instead of shutter speed priority. Anybody give me an answer why?
Because your shutter speed can be limited.
You've got your depth of field assured.
Pardon?
You've got your depth of field assured.
You've got depth of field assured, okay. I'm being pedantic, but with something like that that's quite thin, you're right, but when it's that thin, I've got it anyway, Shannon.
Shutter speed is limited to 320.
Okay, anything else? Any others? Pardon?
You don't need to adjust the flash gun.
Don't need to adjust flash gun, okay. This is something I got off, I can't remember who actually, but if you use shutter speed priority, you have got, which means you set the shutter speed and it gives you an aperture, you're limited from 22, 16, 11, 8, 5, 6, let's say 4, okay. You're limited to 6 stops. When you shoot aperture priority, you are limited 2/50th, 1/25th, 60th, 30th, 15th, 8th, and on and on and on. You've just got more choice. It's never going to come up high or low. So both of you, yeah, right. You've got more choice with aperture priority to the amount of shutter speeds. Okay, practice on land. Just get your cameras out and practice on land. I'm into landscape photography at the moment, so this is an opportunity to show you some pictures. So it really does sharpen the skills. And when you next go away on your trip, either down to Selsey or Swanage or Cornwall, or you're next going abroad, your camera is familiar to you. So just practice on land. I mean, this has got so much similarity with doing the osmosis swirls. You don't have to wait until you get in the water before you do the swirls or the slow shutters or just moving the camera about. You can just do them on land. So if you're thinking, I want to do this on my next trip, I want to do that, have a practice on land. And you don't even, with the macro pictures, you don't even have to go in the pool. Just switch the lights off in your kitchen, get some ornaments out, and just start playing with your lighting angles, and you get no sand.